Okay, I'm recording this in my car. I know it's a super weird angle and I'm all the way back here, but this is the way that the camera will work. So before I even get out of the car, this was channeled while I was driving, and you have to be hands-free while you're driving. So we're parked now. So the thing that was coming through is the the need to the need to essentially focus on anything that you need to do in terms of your identity in order to get success. So say you want to be successful, but you keep falling into old patterns and habits. Well, it's the patterns and habits and belief systems, not the emotions, that define our identities, right? A person of any identity, which you and I are equating with the term frequency or vibe, if you will, this is what's defining your identity. Now, on any level, with any identity, any frequency, you still experience the full spectrum of emotion. So you could be a billionaire and you still experience all of the emotions. Like, you're not immune just because you have a different identity. And if anyone ever tells you that, it's a spiritual bypass and it's total BS. But it's important to understand that not only are you going to have fluctuations that are probably pretty drastic as you're shifting your identity, fluctuations in emotions, because you're a new territory. It's easier to feel good and comfortable when you're in an old identity. And, the science shows that humans prefer to be comfortable, honestly prefer to be comfortable more than they prefer to be happy, because a lot of people don't recognize that on the other side of doing the thing that they're afraid of is the happiness, is the joy, is the excitement, and is the growth. But we don't like discomfort. So we'd rather feel comfortable and not have to deal with the discomfort of doing something new or feeling fear or potential disappointment. This stands in our way. We allow this. Another thing to remember is that when you are starting to shift, it's like by shifting, you're giving yourself permission to try something. If you don't give yourself permission to try, it means that you're not shifting, you're staying in the comfort zone, even if you're unhappy. And a lot of the time, we prefer to stay in that space, but we're pining for these certain things, and they stay as fantasy rather than vision. Our imagination is hugely important because it's not meant for fantasy. Fantasy is when we are not allowing ourselves to take the steps towards what it is that we actually desire, and we get stuck in this pining energy. That's where, jealousy is originates, when you see someone else living a life similar to what it is that you desire. Whereas when you push through into the discomfort of shifting your identity, and like, you wobble, you waver, it's not a consistent thing. It is a practice. When you allow yourself to actually go for what it is that you want, that is proof of an identity shift. It's like, there's no point in shifting your identity if you're not going to go for the things that you dream about. And usually the things that you dream about are on the other side of something scary, hard, boring, or a combination of all of those things. Discipline and devotion are very important here. So it's interesting to me when I think about identity shifting, which, like, this is my jam. I love it so much. Identity shifting is the essential step. Now, how do we identity shift? Well, we can do it through all these different manifestation practices. When I first started getting into all of this stuff, my focus was manifestation. I wanted things and I wanted to make them happen. In fact, I was making things happen without realizing that I was doing manifestation. And then by some miracle came across someone who was talking about manifestation. I went, oh, wow. Okay, that seems to be what's happening in my life right now. How exciting. Oh, I love that there's a mini. This car is like a confirmation to me, because I'm going to the UK and I'm going to London, and I'm excited, and I see them everywhere now. It's my reticular activating system noticing patterns. Oh, there's another one down the street too. That's so funny. Confirmation. But the manifestation practices essentially are not to magically manifest something. They are to train you to shift into the frequency, if you will, of the things that you desire. It's as if you could imagine that if you're interested in the many worlds theory of reality, this is the idea that every time a decision is made, and we're talking like infinite decisions, like we don't understand the concept of infinity. It's a lot. Um, this is like, it's like there is a reality that already exists. There's infinite realities that already exist with you experiencing all these different things that it is that you desire. And we need to tune ourselves like a radio so that we can like tune the receiver to match the frequency to allow that reality in, that timeline in. I know this sounds really wackadoo, but it's not when you start to dig into different theories of time space reality. Please look into it. There's lots of interesting programs, like even on the BBC. It's theory, but if you do like allow yourself to think about these models of thought, these ideas of how reality could function, all of a sudden a lot of this manifestation stuff starts to make sense. Now, how does this tie into identity? It's a practice of using all these techniques to solidify the shift into the identity that has what it is that you want. According to the block theory of time, all of the realities and all points in time are being experienced by different versions of you, which are infinite, all at the same time. Look up this theory, block theory. If that's the case, that means that the future that you desire already exists. It's done. All of creation has happened. We just can't perceive it. So this means that your only job is to shift and maintain the shift. How do you do that? Well, you use the manifestation practices. You don't have to script. You don't have to visualize. You don't have to, I think there's one called the 369 practice. I don't know. That one took up too much time, so I don't like it. You don't have to do any of these things. Revision, that's another one. All you have to do is find your unique way of anchoring in new identity / frequency / tuning your radio to the timeline of the things that you desire, the frequency of what you desire. And it's up to you how you do it. Now, using your unconscious is really important. Your unconscious dictates what you get in life, and your unconscious is tied to your nervous system. We know a lot with somatic experiencing and learning about in psychology these days. It's very popular, the nervous system, how to regulate it. Essentially, a regulated nervous system brings you to a point of neutrality that allows you to make a choice about how you want to react or not react, how you want to respond to things, the choices that we make, the character or role that we play, which is your identity. And regulating your nervous system, I realized last night, is another way of, it's like the equivalent of having trust or faith. When you are actually regulated and you relax and you surrender, this is the point when you are trusting that what it is that you desire is not only inevitable, but in some ways already exists. If you can imagine it in your mind and you want to imagine it in your mind, you conceptualize it, it exists. It's about you aligning to it. Everything that exists right now was in someone's imagination, right? With the exception of nature, because that has its own consciousness and it does its own thing. When it comes to the realities that people are living, that are playing out, the objects that we have, like for example, this car was in someone's imagination. This necklace, the design and creation of it started out in someone's imagination. They started as visions. And the essential piece here is becoming the version of you that can turn fantasy into reality. We do that through using imagination as a tool for visioning. Bring the vision to life. Don't get stuck in fantasy. The you who never takes a chance, which is an old identity with all of its imagined limits, is the one that's stuck in fantasy. They're using the imagination incorrectly. When you use your ability to work with the unconscious through your imagination and use it to visualize, this is where it becomes the ultimate tool. We know through neuroscience that visualization can lead to really amazing outcomes. It's not just about having a vision that translates into a plan that you consciously make. The unconscious parts of our brain cannot tell the difference between a vivid imagined experience and reality. And I know what you're saying, like, of course I can tell the difference. That's your cortex and neocortex. That's your conscious mind. We're talking about the really rudimentary parts of your mind. It's the part that keeps you alive and safe and hopefully out of pain, all of those things. It doesn't have conscious thought. So it's malleable, but you have to work with it because ultimately the unconscious is dictating your life. So if you recognize, this is like if you set New Year's resolutions, but you fall off the wagon after, a month or less, it's because your unconscious and your nervous system has decided that it's too hard or it's not safe for it to do these things or show up differently. So it has the control. I know you know what I'm talking about. So in knowing that, instead of getting frustrated with it, I mean, we will get frustrated, but understand that if you use if you use this understanding to shape what your unconscious believes, then everything can change. And like I said, your unconscious is linked to your nervous system. So that's where the somatic work and expanding your nervous system's capacity to show up online, to speak your truth, to embody something different, to hold more abundance or wealth or money, because we get lots of hangups around that too. It's a nervous system issue and it's unconscious. A lot of people call it unconscious programming. It's simply unconscious beliefs that have become so entrenched that we don't even notice them anymore. But it's dictating our reality. So knowing that this is so powerful, it's our responsibility if we want change and if we want to experience a different type of life, which is manifestation, right? Manifestation is goal setting and bringing those things to fruition. We can take advantage of using things like visualization and even better, using all 5 senses, make it really vivid, to create nervous system regulation around things that we don't have yet. This is where we normalize those things even though we've never had the experience. This has shown up in research where people who visualized before working out had greater gains than people who didn't visualize before working out. And there was a group that didn't work out at all, visualized, and they also had gains. And that is where things get really interesting. The power of your unconscious mind not only can promote the new behaviors that you want to experience in your life that will get you progress towards your goals and get you the results that you want, your unconscious is so powerful that you can use some of these techniques with visualization to create results before you even take a step, right? So it's important to understand that you have the ability to make changes in your own mind and your own nervous system and your own unconscious before you ever take a step. You can train your nervous system and your unconscious to tolerate differences in your behavior and make changes and do things that seem within your conscious mind impossible or unreasonable or unrealistic. You can make those changes and practice it in your mind first. And then it trains your body, your mind, and your nervous system to believe that those things are not painful, to believe that they are possible, to believe that they are survivable, sustainable, all of that. Use it to your advantage and use it to shift your identity as well, any of the techniques. If you don't have the environment around you that supports the new identity, like you can't go anywhere, that's okay. It makes it harder to shift and it makes it harder to change behaviors, but you can still do that. And that boils down to discipline, or I like the word devotion, because a lot of this is a spiritual practice. The other thing I would say is that you can basically, sorry, there's someone like wandering around outside my car here. You can shift without having to change what it is that you wear, for example. That might promote a shift in how you perceive yourself. But if you don't have the resources to change what it is that you wear, fine, it doesn't matter. It's about creating an image so vivid in your unconscious and in your nervous system that you normalize things that you don't have yet, that you normalize things that you don't do yet. I personally am creating a community slowly but surely where people can come together and fiercely support each other's transformation, the identity shift that will essentially result in manifesting whatever it is that you want. I think the identity shift is the most important part. But it can be hard to shift when you don't have these other things in your environment that could support that shift. I get that. So that's why I'm building the community. But I want you to know that if you don't have the resources to change where you are, the people around you, the clothes that you wear, all of that stuff, it's okay. The one thing that you do have is your imagination. You have it, and it is a tool for transformation. So use it, just like in that science experiment, to create a reality that feels so real to your unconscious that you normalize having things that you haven't had before, that you haven't experienced yet, that you haven't done yet. All of it. You have this tool at your disposal, and you can use it at any point, and it does work. Anyways, there's a person giving me the stink eye from where I'm parked, even though I'm allowed to park on the street. So I'm going to skedaddle, but I hope this was helpful to you. Feel free to comment below or let me know what you think of this, and I love you so much. I'll talk to you soon.